Batman owns what is arguably the most famous car in the history of cars, up there with Lightning McQueen, Optimus Prime, the DeLorean, the Mach 5, the Ford Bronco, the Spider Buggy, the Shocker Buggy, and this fun little number. This guy is just having a ball. So much fun on that street. So you have to wonder, if Batman owns the most well-known car in the world, he's gotta be pretty good at driving it, right? Because I'm not so sure. Yes, he was trained in the arts of combat and stealth by the League of Assassins, but did anyone teach Batman how to drive? Or drive well? Because Batman may not be a great driver after all. So in honor of Matt Reeves' The Batman, releasing in just over a month, I've decided to figure it out, to once and for all answer the question whether the world's greatest detective is also the world's okayest driver. Took a look at all of Batman's silver screen street races. And real quick, not touching the cartoons or any other versions besides the ones in these films. Batman 66, Batman 1989, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Batman v Superman, the Lego Batman movie, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. I didn't originally want to do Mask of the Phantasm, but I feel like I must, and that also covers the rest of the animated series universe, so we'll do that too. Also, I'm going to be focusing on cars and car-like vehicles. Batman drives a multitude of specialized vehicles, including speedboats, ski boats, planes, helicopters, sleds, walkers, and a big Lego dog thing. I'll touch on motorcycles, but the focus is mainly on cars. And then we're gonna go back into the Aculos zone for judgment on each movie. We've got 5 factors we're gonna use to determine how well they do. These are things I came up with in the moment, so if you disagree with me, throw it in the comments section. First, handling. Is Batman in control of the Batmobile? Second, awareness. Is Batman minding his surroundings? Third, creativity. How does Batman use the Batmobile to solve problems? Fourth, destruction. Does Batman unintentionally destroy everything around him? And 5, intangibles, just room for extra stuff. So whatever doesn't get covered by those first 4. This will also be completely subjective, so comment section. Although, I will try to base my judgment on the movies themselves. All of these are judged out of 5 for a possible score of 25 Bat points. So first up, we have Batman the movie features almost no driving. This was a bad place to start. I will point out, however, that while it doesn't make an appearance in the movie, in an episode of the series, Batman utilizes the Batmobile's first autopilot. He presses a button on a remote and tells the car where to pick him up, because Batman and Robin are about to get shot out of a catapult, and the car meets him there. So, starting with 66, it seems like Batman is a fine driver. His Batmobile on that show is based off a 1955 Lincoln Futura, an Italian concept car. It's more car-like than any of the Batmobiles since, besides Pattinson's, but at least as far as Batman the movie is concerned, Batman is able to drive a more or less normal car adequately. Okay, so handling here, I'd say is fine. This is 3 out of 5. Awareness, also fine, 3 out of 5. Creativity, fine, 3 out of 5. This is a very middle of the road performance. Destruction, fine, 3 out of 5. Intangibles, nothing, 0 out of 5. That means Batman the movie gets a final score of 12 out of 25, which is as close to average as you can get. Jump forward 20 years, The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen have changed the superhero comic landscape forever, and we go from dancing the Batusi to here's my first indication that Batman might not be an amazing driver. Tim Burton's Batman 1989 features one Batmobile chase split in half. First, Batman and Vicky Vale, being pursued by some Joker goons, jump into the Batmobile and a chase ensues. I want to highlight 3 moments from this scene. Let's start with this. Batman does not appear to be able to turn the Batmobile without the aid of a grappling hook. Granted, the Gotham streets were pretty tight, and a Burton Batmobile was enormous. You'd still imagine though that Batman would be able to maneuver through the streets without the aid of steel beams. Also, what happens to people between the Batmobile and the beam? Is Batman just decapitating random citizens? And he doesn't need this to turn every time, but this does feel like something that he should be able to do on his own. Second, Batman almost hits a piece of construction equipment. Driving on the wrong side of the road and well safe from the Joker's goons, Batman gets distracted, I guess, and doesn't notice notice until seconds before they hit it that a backhoe is crossing the street. He does not notice that all of the cars on the other side of the road are stopped and clearly waiting for something, but Batman is able to stop quickly, so that's something. Third, and most importantly, in Batman 1989, the Batmobile appears to have a sophisticated autopilot. We see this in the second half of the scene when Batman and Vicky Vale need to escape again after leaving the Batmobile on foot. Batman says in a small receiver, "Shields down." And the Batmobile is able to find Batman and Vicky Vale and lose the police chasing it. So it seems like the Batmobile might be a better driver than Batman. I also need to point out how incredibly reckless Batman is when he drives. He tends to cause a ton of collateral damage and even probably kill some bystanders and cops. In this scene, Batman causes a pileup of Joker goons. Yes, the goons put themselves in that situation, but it is Batman's choice to escape in the Batmobile, even though he can easily sneak around and grapple his way into buildings, even with Vicky Vale in tow. There also isn't any pressing danger. Vale is not poisoned like someone who we'll cover later, which means Batman does not need to race through the streets. So while I wouldn't say Batman caused the crash directly, he didn't not cause it. And since he's the one with the rocket car, you hope for a little more responsibility. Also, can't forget that time Batman used the shield on his car and dropped a bomb to kill all those guys. That's something. Okay, so this one's tricky. With handling, he can't really turn quickly without the aid of a steel beam, so I'm going to say 1 out of 5. Awareness, this Batmobile almost hits that backhoe. That's a 1 out of 5. Creativity, Batman does kill a bunch of goons by putting up the shield and dropping that bomb. 3 out of 5. Destruction, he causes a car wreck. 2 out of 5. And then intangibles, nothing really exciting here. 0 out of 5. That means Batman 89 gets a score of 7 out of 25 Bat points. But the fun doesn't end there, because Batman Returns, we see more Batmobiling. And as is the case with everything in the Burton movies, it goes pretty well for Batman because of an array of hyper-specific gadgets. He takes out some stilt walkers with fins and burns this guy to death, which, impressive, but I don't understand why we needed the Batmobile for this. I have never seen a stilt walker in real life and wondered, how could I possibly knock them down? So while I do not believe this does much to prove Batman is a good or bad driver, it does point further to his over-reliance on gadgets in the Batmobile, like the autopilot, which becomes a problem later on as the Penguin is able to hijack the Batmobile via a coin-operated supermarket ride and use it to kill many people. This is the first, but not last time, the Batmobile becomes a liability, which calls into question whether the thing should even exist at all. Batman is not very good at driving it, and the villains are able to use it to do villainy. Is it worth the trouble? Especially since Batman has a grappling hook and a cape he can use to glide. Okay, with this one, handling, he manages to drive the Batmobile well enough. That's a 3 out of 5. Awareness, not too bad either, 3 out of 5. Creativity, Batman uses his rocket engine to kill the fire guy, so that's a 4 out of 5. Destruction, the hijacked Batmobile kills a bunch of people, and that is kind of on Batman for not being able to outthink the Penguin, so 0 out of 5. And then intangibles, nothing special here, 0 out of 5. That means Batman Returns gets a final score of 10 out of 25 Bat points, so we're improving. And just 1 year later, Batman returns to the silver screen with not a lot of Batmobiling in here either. In fact, Phantasm is relatively short on Batmaning altogether. A lot of the action sequences instead feature the mysterious Phantasm. Batman does, however, manage to drive the Batmobile out of the Batcave, which requires navigating this incredibly dangerous runway, which honestly might be the most impressive feat of Batman driving in history. Also, Phantasm features one impressive motorcycle maneuver. In the film's climax, Beaumont is being sucked into a stationary jet engine, and Batman catches up to her on the motorcycle, tosses the bike into the engine, destroying both, and lands with Beaumont. So that's pretty good. I mostly added Phantasm to placate fans of the animated series who would argue that I should include it, and it did get a theatrical release, so it counts. But it isn't a great Batmobile showing. And since it's the same continuity, I will also look at the Batmobile-focused episode of the animated series called The Mechanic. In that episode, Batman gets in the Batmobile equivalent of a fender bender, so he takes the Batmobile to his personal mechanic, a man named Earl Cooper. Earl was an engineer who worked for a big car company, but after blowing the whistle on him, was blacklisted and couldn't find a job, but Batman offered Earl the opportunity to create a Batmobile. It's manufactured from scratch specifically to be Batman's primary mode of transportation. Fun little Easter egg in the episode, Batman appears in Proto-Batmobile, which is the Batmobile that he started with in the comics. The wreck that sets the episode in motion is a disaster. Batman and Robin are pursuing some of the Penguin's goons who stole priceless works of bird-related art. There is a short car chase that ends with the goons coming up to a vertical lift bridge that is currently raised. The goons wildly underestimated their window and accidentally drove off the bridge, but land on a ferry that also belongs to the Penguin, but it doesn't seem like they planned that. I don't know what that is. Batman, however, with full view of the bridge and what happened to the goons, stops way too short. Now, he doesn't fly off the bridge to his death, but he does underestimate how far forward the Batmobile is, and it is crushed by the bridge. Batman's reaction time here is embarrassing, especially considering his Batmobile has all kinds of nonsense components. He also isn't able to catch the goons who are driving in what appears to be an average Packard. Compared this to, and let's jump ahead here, and I know I'm breaking this rule because this was never a movie, RPM, an episode of 2005's The Batman, a show I really like. In the episode, a villain named Gearhead commits car-related crimes using his nanotechnology and is able to outrace Batman twice. However, Batman, as Bruce Wayne, is participating in a Formula One charity race as the episode starts, which does require a significant amount of skill. And in this instance, he's racing against a supervillain who has the ability to augment any car with yellow line nanotechnology, so the fact that Batman's able to keep up with Gearhead at all is an achievement. Alright, handling. He manages to use that crazy runway, 5 out of 5. Awareness. The Batbike stunt is pretty tricky, 4 out of 5. Creativity. Using the Batbike as a weapon is very clever, 5 out of 5. Destruction. Nothing serious here. He does destroy that jet engine, but nobody seems to be using it, so 3 out of 5. And then intangibles, 0 out of 5 for a grand total of 17 out of 25 Bat points. Very good. So 2 years pass, and the Bat is back in live action with help from the world's largest neon factory and Joel Schumacher in This one is incredibly helpful. Now this seems like a good time to bring up the fact that Batman almost never outdrives his pursuers. In Batman 89 Returns and Now Forever, Batman escapes the goons or cops chasing him by utilizing a series of increasingly bizarre gimmicks. As I said, in 89, Batman uses the grappling hook to make that tight turn. In Batman Returns, Batman turns his car into a skinny little motorcycle thing so that he can squeeze through a tight alleyway. And then in Forever, Batman is able to vent the exhaust out of the bottom of his car so the Batmobile raises slightly and Batman's able to shoot a grappling hook up and drive the car up a wall. Batman also uses slidey wheels so that he can juke out of the way of a rocket shot by Two-Face. The Batmobile itself, and the advantage it has over its pursuers, is responsible for nearly every car-related Burton and Schumacher Batmobile victory. Compare that to a fistfight Batman gets in with some goons. Sure, his suit keeps him safe from knife wounds, but fundamentally, Batman is a skilled martial artist and can win a hand-to-hand fight against nearly anyone in DC Comics. Intellectually, Batman can also outthink almost anyone on his own by virtue of his natural talent and years of training. But this does not appear to be true of Batman's driving, since all of his escapes are the result of Batman's reliance on some sort of incredible piece of technology. It's unclear whether he invented that technology or not, but in that case, it's probably more likely that the advantage came from Batman's immense wealth. He buys expensive car parts that would never make sense for the normal police or even Two-Face's goons, but he can afford because he's a billionaire. After all, for the gimmick in Batman Forever to work, Batman needs not only the grappling hook technology, but the exhaust necessary to put the nose of the car in the air, and then on top of that needs a system capable of pulling this gigantic car up a wall and reinforcements so that the car doesn't just snap off of whatever the grappling hook is being fired from. All this is to say, Batman does not also make a robot suit to beat up goons. He presumably could afford to buy something like that. However, Batman does not need to because he is already incredibly skilled at fighting. But driving is also a skill, one that Batman feels the need to supplement with expensive technology. This leads me to believe that Batman does not think he could escape the police without it. We also don't get a ton of Batmobiling in Forever or Batman and Robin because in both movies, the Batmobile is destroyed. In Forever, the Riddler manages to break into the Batcave on Halloween and bombs the Batmobile. And in Batman and Robin, the Batmobile is destroyed pretty early by Mr. Freeze. So overall, the handling, he uses the steering gimmick to avoid the rocket. That's a 4 out of 5 right there. Awareness, he knows to use the steering gimmick. So that's another 4 out of 5. Creativity, nothing incredible here. 3 out of 5. Destruction, probably messed up that building that he drove up. Like, that's not great for the wall, so I'm gonna say 2 out of 5 there. And then intangibles, nothing there, 0 out of 5. Batman Forever gets a 13 out of 25, so we're improving. And then, after Forever comes... Now, we haven't really talked about other vehicles, partially because I don't think it's the same skill set, and also partially because most of them are on screen for exactly as long as is needed to justify selling a toy, and then they are promptly destroyed. The Batwing from '89, the Bat Ski Boat from Returns, Forever's Batwing. Batman and Robin features the introduction of the Bat family's ice vehicles, which don't crash. In fact, the Bat Sled manages to destroy Freeze's tank by just having a shield. However, Batman barely drives his sled. He just barrels forward, stops, and then barrels forward. So I wouldn't say any of those demonstrate any skill. Also, Batwings always get destroyed. And I have to say, even though the Batmobile is destroyed in Batman and Robin, you do get one chase scene that involves Batman driving down the arm of one of those gigantic Gotham City statues. So, that's not nothing. So for Batman and Robin, handling, driving down the statue arm, that must have been tough. That's a 4 out of 5. Awareness? The Batmobile is destroyed by Mr. Freeze. That probably wasn't what Batman wanted to do, so I'm going to say a 2 out of 5 for that one. Creativity, nothing special here, 3 out of 5. Destruction, also nothing exciting, 3 out of 5. And then intangibles, 0 out of 5. Bringing Batman and Robin to a 14 out of 25. That's above average. Way to go, Schumacher. After Batman and Robin, we took an 8-year break, got back to basics, and reinvented the genre with... Here's where things get interesting. The Tumbler is a different kind of Batmobile. It is less car and more tank than anything that came before. It has quite a few gimmicks, from its rampant jump to small things like deployable mines. However, Batman also seems pretty good at driving this thing. He is able to maneuver on the streets, weaving in and out of traffic. He can also drive it on rooftops at high speeds without falling off the edges. That's gotta be tough. Granted, he has the aid of some computer systems, but there's definitely skill involved here. We can see through Batman's eyes that he is taking great pains to avoid pedestrians and police, although he's definitely not completely successful. But still, I would argue that 2005's Batman Begins is the first time a Batman movie makes the case for having a car at all. It helps a lot that the chase scenes were filmed in an actual city and not like the earlier films on a soundstage that featured a couple of very narrow streets. The Tumbler is actually able to make it to pretty high speeds on a highway that requires a certain amount of sophistication. Begins is also the first film where we get a clear picture of Batman's origin. It comes up in Phantasm, but I wouldn't say that goes into much detail about his training outside of the fact that he learned jujitsu. In Begins, we learn that Bruce was trained by the League of Shadows in an isolated monastery, and before that, Bruce lived as a beggar and spent at least a little time in prison. So it's clear that Bruce never received any formal driving training during his League of Shadows days, unless they had some sort of VR training machine. It seems like Nolan Batman was able to apply his ninja training to driving, i.e. heightened reflexes, minding your surroundings. This is so far the best explanation for why Bruce should be an above average driver. However, one knock against Nolan Batman is that the film's climax, Batman lets Commissioner Gordon, or I guess Lieutenant Gordon, drive the Tumbler while he fights the ninjas on the monorail. And Gordon does a pretty good job. He scratches a few parked cars, but Gordon is able to navigate the streets of Gotham at seemingly high speeds. So, maybe the Tumbler is just an easy car to drive. Also, we need to talk about collateral damage again. In this chase, Batman destroys many police cars and messes up quite a few roofs. Now, you could make the case that Batman needs to get to the Batcave as quickly as possible because Rachel has been poisoned by Scarecrow's fear toxin and is going into shock. However, I would not say that necessarily requires this level of destruction, especially since Gordon seems to be on board. Why can't he just tell the cops, hey, that guy is helping, give him some space? I'm not CinemaSins ding, but just, as far as the urgency is concerned. And those poor cops, they don't have any idea what's going on. They aren't all crooked. Some of them are just cops, and some guy is clearly driving a tank around on the roofs, and then he's on the highway flying by all the other cars. Of course they're gonna chase him. They're not even shooting anything. They're just doing their job, and he's throwing mines at them, and they're all flipping over. Jeez. Okay, so here's where things start changing. Handling. Batman weaves in and out of traffic. 5 out of 5. Awareness. The fact that Batman is able to hide the Tumbler from a helicopter is very impressive. 5 out of 5. Creativity. Driving on roofs. Pretty creative, and it does work. 5 out of 5. Destruction. Batman messes up those roofs, the parking garage, and definitely kills at least a few cops. 1 out of 5. But intangibles, Batman gets Rachel the antidote in enough time to save her, so I'm gonna give him 3 out of 5 there. to kind of offset the destruction. That gives Batman a total of a 19 out of 25. Batman Begins was a game changer for Batman driving. Then, Nolan keeps his winning streak going with a little-known film you probably haven't heard about called The Dark Knight does not feature nearly as much Batmobiling as Begins. Batman uses the tumbler to block a shot from the Joker's bazooka, and the tumbler is destroyed, leading to the birth of the Batpod. What a name. What a 2008 name. Batman has a good run with the Batpod. He's able to trip Joker's slaughter truck, he also speeds through the city quickly enough to rescue Harvey, and he escapes police at the end of the film. Now there is the moment where Bruce is driving the Lamborghini through traffic, however, there aren't that many people on the road. He's weaving in and out of traffic pretty well, but I wouldn't say this is anything exciting. All in all, it's another strong showing from Batman, which proves not only his skill, but his versatility on different vehicles. So The Dark Knight, handling, excellent weaving in and out of traffic, 5 out of 5. Awareness, he drives through a mall and no one is hurt, 4 out of 5. Creativity, flipping over the truck with the wire is an all-time driving in movies, great move, 5 out of 5. Destruction, the mall gets a little messed up, not a big deal. He does also blow up some parked cars, so I'm going to say 2 out of 5. And then intangibles, the moment later on, it's super urgent because Rachel and Harvey are both in danger. He does manage to save the one he's after, so that is a 3 out of 5. A very impressive 19 out of 25 points. But hold on, Nolan has one more trick up his sleeve. One with silly accents and Ben Mendelsohn. Remember, he's in that. It's While The Dark Knight Rises features a few quick Batpod scenes, most of the Rises chases follow the Bat, Batman's helicopter plane hybrid thingy. Since the skill set required to drive a helicopter isn't all that similar to the skill set required to drive a car, I don't think it's worth really looking at the Bat here. However, Rises does feature another instance of a villain hijacking a Batmobile. In this case, Bane and his goons swipe a few tumblers. So that's another knock against the Batmobile in general. Alright, not as much driving, handling, fine. 3 out of 5. Awareness, fine, 3 out of 5. Creativity, Batman stages a pretty impressive getaway by using a truck as a ramp, 4 out of 5. Destruction, Bane frees the criminals with stolen Batmobiles, so not great, 1 out of 5. And then intangibles, 0 out of 5, bringing The Dark Knight Rises total to 11 out of 25. Overall, the Nolan movies are a great step up in terms of driving prowess. And then came Snyder's Batman does really enjoy driving. He has a high-speed chase involving the Batmobile in both Batman v Superman and Justice League. However, the moment that really matters to me does not concern the Batmobile. Although, does any vehicle that Batman is in just like become a Batmobile? I think the best example of Batman's driving prowess in any movie comes from this moment at the very beginning of Batman v Superman, where Batman drives the sponsored car into the heart of Metropolis during the Zod fight. Bruce is handling turns and outrunning buildings without any gadgets or any autopilot system. He's just driving like a champ. Later in the film, Batman chases some goons, and while I would say his driving is also above average for a Batman, I would attribute most of his success to the fact that almost nothing can stop this Batmobile, including a brick wall. This does also happen to be the Batmobile. It feels like it goes overboard on the weapons. Even though some of Batman's other vehicles have mounted guns, none feel quite as extra as these guns, and none are used as aggressively. Okay, so Batman v Superman for handling, 5 out of 5. For awareness, he cannot avoid stationary Superman, even though Batman does maybe want to hit him, but either way, it doesn't go well for the Batmobile. I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Creativity, using the cable to catch that car and use it as a flail is very clever, 4 out of 5. Destruction, Batman demolishes that dock, 2 out of 5. And then intangibles, driving the normal car through Metropolis is incredible, 5 out of 5, with a total of 18 out of 25 Bat points for Batman v Superman. Now for something completely different. I expected more from Lego Batman, since the movie was clearly designed to sell toys that I bought. However, Batman doesn't do a lot of Batmobiling in this movie. We get a tiny bit of it in the intro, a driving lesson later on, and a small scene where Batman is leading the newly vehicled Rogues Gallery. But besides those moments, Batman spends almost the entire movie in either the Scuttler or the Batwing, neither of which I consider cars. It's worth noting that his Batmobile can also be driven by Batman's pewter, so anything he does in the Batmobile could definitely be attributed to autopilot. During the driving lesson, we also get the return of the short stop, where this time, Batman nearly mows down a pedestrian. So, not great. I was generally pretty underwhelmed by Batman's driving in the Lego Batman movie. I mean, the movie rules, but that in the driving, specifically of cars, not amazing. Alright, so handling, Batman does donuts in the parking lot, 4 out of 5. Awareness, he nearly hits that pedestrian, 1 out of 5. Creativity, nothing really special, 3 out of 5. Destruction, nothing special, 3 out of 5. And intangibles, 0. Giving Lego Batman movie 11 out of 25. And I'm not doing Justice League twice, so if I have to pick, I should probably go with... We get the reappearance of the Batmobile in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Batman has destroyed the shield dome and jumps into the Batmobile to cause a distraction. The circumstances surrounding this one are pretty extreme. Flying enemy parademons jump onto the hood of the Batmobile and try to rip it to shreds. These are not your average penguin goons. No other Batman has ever asked a Batmobile to do so much, but Bruce manages to stay alive for quite a while, driving backwards and spinning around. We also see the inside of this Batmobile is mostly mechanical. Not nearly as many guidance systems as some of the Batmobiles from days past. Lots of switches and flicking, things like that. And I mean, look at what he's seeing. This is nothing but the night lit by a constant wave of bullets. It's a miracle that Batman can see here at all. Okay, handling here, amazing, 5 out of 5. Awareness, amazing, 5 out of 5. Creativity, that incredible spin move that he uses to knock out those parademons, really, really good, 5 out of 5. Destruction, there's no real danger to civilians here, or not much danger that's avoided. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. And then intangibles, Batman is fighting flying aliens, 5 out of 5. Bringing the Zack Snyder Justice League total to 23 out of 25. And that leaves us with... The Batman is set to release in a month or so, and throughout the film's marketing, it certainly seems like this Batman is going to be an expert driver. In fact, the crux of the second trailer involves Batman causing some sort of wreck that he's able to safely walk away from. And look at that Batmobile. It's a supercar, but not a supercar. Looks like a reinforced Mustang or Challenger or something with a jet engine, which is a lot, but it's a far cry from the grappling hooks and autopilots of 30 years ago. A year or two before he passed, I met Adam West at a press junket. I asked him if he had any advice for another actor playing Batman in the future, since Batman has existed since the beginning of cinema and it's going to be in existence till the end. He had a very simple answer. You let the suit do the work. The Batsuit is legendary and its very presence speaks for itself. You can't forget that. I think the same can be said about the Batmobile. A lot of the time, just seeing the Batmobile is enough. Strikes fear into the hearts of criminals and tells the citizens of Gotham that everything is going to be okay because Batman is here. However, when the rubber hits the road and a chase ensues, Batman has also let the car do the work, maybe a little too much. In the Burton and Schumacher eras, Batman relied on gadgets and gimmicks to catch the criminals and evade the cops. But that changed when Nolan and eventually Snyder took over. I don't think Batman was always a good driver. But I do think, as time has gone on, and new possibilities have emerged by virtue of CGI or enormous budgets, Batman has improved. The gadgets never went away, but now, Batman is not just a worse version of the autopilot. It would not be the same without him. The car is special on its own, but the man behind the wheel makes it the Batmobile. I mean, it also probably helps to have the unfathomable amount of money it takes to buy the rocket engine and all of the other gadgets it takes to make a Batmobile. So, the man behind the wheel and the money. That makes a Batmobile. And a great way to start investing your money for your own financial goals is with this video's sponsor, Wealthfront. Wealthfront is an automated investment platform that uses software to find the optimal portfolio to help grow your money long-term based on your risk tolerance. If you're young, you have decades of compound interest to use to your advantage. You can invest money, which makes you more money, which makes you more money, which makes you more money. You don't think Batman has got a lot of investments going on behind the scenes? Of course he does. And there's decades of research out there that proves that investing in a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds is one of the best ways to put your savings to work. And Wealthfront makes that process easy, accessible, and affordable regardless of your finances. Their setup is also super simple. You just need a few minutes and $500 to open up an investment account, and they'll take care of the rest. They also automatically use a strategy called tax loss harvesting, which could lower the taxes that you pay without any work on your end. And the best part is Wealthfront has agreed to waive their already tiny 0.25% management fee up to the first $5,000 invested for the rest of your life. Not to mention, they also give you free access to their financial planning tools, which allows you to estimate your net worth over time and estimates how you save and invest your income based on spending. So all you have to do to try out Wealthfront is click on this link or the one in the video description. And again, to start investing today and get Wealthfront to waive their 0.25% management fee for the first $5,000 for the rest of your life, click this link or link in the description. Thank you again to everyone that supports the channel on Patreon. That's all I got. Stay safe. See you next time.